This week's project, you guys are going to be drawing a up-close animal eye, and with that you're going to focus on the textures of that animal as far as their fur or feathers or skin that'll be around the eye area, and you will also be focusing on details of the eye. So for this week's exercise, we are going to actually try to concentrate a little bit more on the textures and the details of the eyes to help you with that project this week. So to do this, you're going to need a piece of the computer paper or your sketchbook, and you'll need a ruler and your pencil. So we're going to start just by drawing a box, and we're going to divide it into 4 squares. So what's going to happen is in each one of these, we are going to draw a different type of animal texture. I have actually printed off various animal textures, 4 different ones. I'm going to do a lizard, an elephant, bear fur, and feathers from a bird. So those are the 4 that I'm going to choose. However, you can choose whichever animals that you prefer. I would just try to get a good variety of textures to complete this exercise with. Then each one we're going to do a different one. So I'm going to start first by doing the elephant one, and you can draw straight from your phone if you prefer. You don't have to print out any of the pictures. I just did that so I could have it right here for you to see well. And these are black and white, and again, if you're looking on your phone, you'll be able to see it in color. So this is texture from an elephant that I'm going to put, and I'm going to place it here in my first box. And I want to look at this, and I want to pay attention to the things that I see and observe from it. I want to make sure that I can visually display those in my drawing as well. So looking at this elephant texture, I obviously see lots of line, and those lines are running perpendicular with each other. Some are running parallel. So I want to make sure I pull those lines in there because that's what's really going to make this texture, this elephant texture, really look like what it's supposed to. So in this box, I'm going to start, and I'm just going to draw these. So I'm just going to kind of focus on an area, and I want to try to just draw that texture the way that I see it. Once I have all the lines on this one, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to try to do some shading on this. I'm going to make some of these appear really dark, the lines that I've got there, because when I look at my picture here, I can see that. I can see places where the lines get darker. Crease, we'll say, on the elephant gets deeper maybe there. So I want to kind of pull some of those areas out, and then I'm going to start applying some shading with this. So in this next one, I'm going to focus on this bear fur, and I'm going to pay close attention to, again, I'm going to zoom in on an area that I can focus on, and I'm going to pay close attention to how the hair is kind of clumped together, and make sure that when I draw it that I show that it's got those sections that are pieced together like this, and then also come in with my shading and make sure that I show these darker values and these lighter values whenever I do this. I do want to make sure that I pay close attention to them, to going in the correct direction that the hair is going. So I want to make it a point to let you know that we need to make sure that when we're shading, we're also shading in the direction the hair is going, and we keep that going that way, so that way it follows that texture that we need on here. Okay, on this square here, I am going to draw an alligator texture in this one. So I'm gonna follow along and I'm gonna try to draw, probably I'll start with, instead of drawing individual shapes here, I think I will draw lines and then shade in, similar to what I did here with this elephant. And in my last square here, I am going to do feathers. So feathers of a bird. So we are going to look at the shape here, and obviously I want to make sure that I show that overlapping here of this particular shape to illustrate these feathers. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to overlap. I'm going to pay close attention to zooming in on one area, doing that, and I'm also going to pay attention to these values, because you'll notice here that like the darker value here helps this other feather here to pop out, to stand out. So you want to look at those things here, like this darker value again, where it's darker here shows the lighter side of this feather here, so they pop out and stand out against each other. So those are things you want to make sure you're illustrating with your texture on this one. Okay, so for the second part to this exercise, we are going to focus on drawing out the details of an eye. And at this current moment, I have a color picture of a horse's eye pulled up on my computer to refer back and forth. So to start out, the first thing I want to focus on or talk about is the shape of the eye. A lot of times we're taught that all eyes are football shaped, but that is not particularly the case. So we always want to look at the actual eye that we are drawing, whether it be a human eye or an animal eye, and study the actual shape of that eye and make sure that we draw it the way that we actually see it. So looking at this image, I'm going to start by drawing the main outline of the shape of the eye. So now looking at this eye, after I've got all these things, and I also want to look for highlight areas. So as I'm looking right here, I can see there is a highlight, and it highlights the white where you can see light reflected in an eye. So I'm going to just draw that in right now. Whenever we actually add color to this, we're going to be careful that we don't have such a harsh outline, dark outline around it. We want to make sure it kind of blends in the way it's supposed to there. You are going to, your area around the eye, we're going to focus on doing that black and white with pencil or with pen and ink. But the eye part in general, we're going to actually work on doing that with color. So I pulled a few colors here. This horse's eye is brown, but I pulled in a few different colors here that I wanted to show you. So I have got a good variation. I've got a regular brown, but when I look at this eye, I also see lighter areas and darker areas. So I've actually pulled in some other shades here that I want to make sure I kind of draw in. There's places where I think it pulls in a little bit more of a yellow tone. So I'm going to to pull in some of these to bring that out, and then I have a dark brown for areas where it gets darker. So let's start with the brown. I'm gonna start laying out on here the color here. I'm just gonna kind of, again, working in those little oval shapes in a circular kind of way, applying a light layer first. Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to the pupil, which is this black area here, and we're gonna apply this, the black color pencil in here. And as I'm looking, I can see a little bit of some other colors here before I see the bright white highlight. I actually see a little bit of some reflections here that are a little lighter, so I'm gonna actually leave a little void there where I can come back in and add. It looks like maybe a little bit of a different color brown right there in that to pop that out. And other details that I see when I'm looking at this eye is I actually see in the iris, I see a little bit of some pattern coming out from it. So I'm going to use this darker brown, and we can see a little bit of these lines that come from the iris here. So I want to pull in some of those. When I'm looking at them, they extend out in different lengths. Look at these eyelashes. So when I'm looking at these eyelashes, horse eyelashes, I'm sure are probably a little bit different than human eyelashes, but looking at these, I want to pay close attention, and this would be the case with human or animal eyelashes. You want to pay attention to the way and the direction that the eyelashes are going. So looking at this picture, there are eyelashes, and I'm going to make sure that I also sharpen my pencil before I do this, because I want a pretty sharp edge when I'm doing this, because these are really fine hairs, so I want it to be really sharp as I start to do this. But looking at these, when I start this, the eyelashes here, I want to make sure that I actually go up onto the lid part to do this, not right here at the back actual edge of where the eye is. So when I'm looking here, they're going to start here, and these actually are just kind of going down. So they just angle down. And I just do this in like a sweeping manner. And when you look at these, you want to make sure that you do them full, but again, pay attention to what your subject is. Now when I'm looking here, I actually see a few random ones that are down here. And I'm going to go ahead and add those in with colored pencil, even though this will be on the area where you will actually do pencil. I'll add those in here. Okay, then you actually focus on the area in your drawing. You're kind of putting in some of this texture that you see here, and then that's pretty much how your project's going to go. So we would continue to add in here. I would make sure that I kind of pulled in and shaded the area around, because again, you're going to add all of that as part of your drawing and part of the eye. So we would kind of make sure that we pull in and do the shading.